My dear friend, you don't understand a thing, do you? I can accept that. You think I've gone mad? Perhaps I have, just a little. But not for the reasons you imagine. Yes. I'm getting married. That's it. And yet, my views and convictions remain unchanged. I still consider legal union a foolish notion. I'm convinced that 8 out of 10 husbands are cuckolds. And they deserve it for the sheer idiocy of chaining themselves to one life, for renouncing free love, the only joyful and good thing in this world, for clipping the wings of fantasy that drives us toward all women at once, and so on, and so on. More than ever, I feel incapable of loving one woman because I love all the others far too much. I wish I had 1,000 arms, 1,000 lips, and 1,000 temperaments, so I could embrace an entire army of those charming, insignificant creatures all at once. And yet, I'm getting married. I'll add this, I barely know my future wife. I've seen her only 4 or 5 times. I know she doesn't displease me, and that's enough for what I intend to do with her. She's small, blonde, and plump. The day after tomorrow, I'll be burning with desire for a tall, slender brunette. She's not rich. She comes from a middle-class family. An ordinary girl, one of the countless marriageable types, neither remarkable nor flawed, typical of the bourgeoisie. People say of her, Mademoiselle Lajol is very sweet. Tomorrow they'll say, Madame Raymond is quite charming. She belongs to that legion of respectable young women one is happy to make one's wife until the day you realize you prefer every other woman to the one you chose. So why am I getting married, you ask? I hardly dare admit the strange and unbelievable reason that drives me to this absurd act. I'm getting married so I won't be alone. I don't know how to say it, how to make you understand. You'll pity me and despise me for how wretched my state of mind is. I no longer want to be alone at night. I want to feel a living being beside me, close to me, someone who can speak, say something, anything. I want to be able to break their sleep, ask a sudden, stupid question, just to hear a voice, to feel a soul awaken, a mind begin to stir, to see, by the sudden light of a candle, a human face beside me, because I'm ashamed to admit it, because I'm afraid to be alone. Oh, you still don't understand. I'm not afraid of danger. If a man entered, I'd kill him without flinching. I'm not afraid of ghosts, I don't believe in the supernatural. I'm not afraid of the dead, I believe in the final annihilation of every being that disappears. So what is it? Yes. So what? Well, I'm afraid of myself. Afraid of fear itself, afraid of the spasms of my own mind unraveling in panic, afraid of that dreadful, inexplicable shiver of terror. Laugh if you want. It's awful. It's incurable. I'm afraid of walls, of furniture, of familiar objects that seem to take on a kind of animal life. But most of all, I'm afraid of the chaos in my own thoughts, of my reason slipping away, dissolving, scattering under the pressure of some mysterious, invisible anxiety. It begins with a vague unease that passes through my soul, sending a chill across my skin. I look around. Nothing. And yet I long for something. What? Something comprehensible. For I'm afraid only because I don't understand what I'm afraid of. I speak and I'm afraid of my own voice. I walk and I'm afraid of the unknown behind the door, behind the curtain, inside the wardrobe, under the bed. And yet I know there's nothing there. I turn around sharply because I'm afraid of what's behind me, even though I know there's nothing there. I begin to pace, feeling my confusion swell. I lock myself in my room, crawl into bed, hide beneath the covers. Curled up like a ball, I squeeze my eyes shut in desperation and lie there endlessly, with a single thought pulsing in my mind. The candle on my nightstand is still burning, I ought to extinguish it. But I don't dare. Isn't it dreadful to be like this? I never used to feel anything of the sort. I'd come home calmly. I'd walk back and forth through my apartment, and nothing disturbed the serenity of my soul. Had anyone told me then that one day I'd be seized by such a ridiculous, foolish, and terrifying affliction of fear, I would have laughed. I opened doors in the dark with confidence, went to bed slowly, without locking anything, and never once got up in the middle of the night to check whether all the exits were secured. It began last year in a strange way. It was autumn, on a damp evening. After dinner, once the maid had left, I wondered what to do. I wandered around the room for a while. I felt tired, inexplicably weighed down, unable to work, lacking even the strength to read. A fine rain tapped against the windows. I was melancholy, overcome by one of those causeless sadnesses that make you want to cry, that make you long for anyone to be near, just to shake off the heaviness of thought. I felt alone. My home seemed emptier than ever before. An infinite, aching solitude surrounded me. What to do? I sat down. Then a nervous tremor ran through my legs. I stood again and resumed pacing. Perhaps I had a slight fever. My hands, clasped behind my back as one often does when walking slowly, burned against each other, and I noticed it. Then suddenly a chill ran down my spine. I thought the dampness from outside had crept in, and the idea of lighting a fire came to me. I did so for the first time that year. I sat again, watching the flames. But soon the impossibility of staying still drove me to rise once more. I felt I had to go out, shake myself, find a friend. I went out. I stopped by 3 acquaintances, none were home. Then I headed toward the boulevard, determined to find someone I knew. Everything was bleak. The wet sidewalks gleamed. A clammy warmth, the kind that chills you in sudden shivers, heavy, sticky, from the invisible rain wrapped the street, as if dulling and tiring the glow of the gas lamps. I wandered aimlessly, repeating to myself, I won't find anyone to talk to. I peered into cafes, from the Madeleine to the Faubourg Poissonnière. Dreary people sat at tables, seemingly too weary to finish their drinks. I wandered for a long time, and around midnight I made my way home. I was calm, but utterly exhausted. The concierge, who usually goes to bed before 11, opened the door immediately, which was unusual, and I thought, another tenant must have just come in. When I leave, I always lock my door with 2 turns of the key. This time, it was merely pulled shut that struck me. I supposed someone had brought up my mail during the evening. I entered. The fire in the hearth was still burning, casting a faint light across the room. I took a candle to light it from the flame, and as I glanced forward, I saw someone sitting in my armchair, warming their feet by the fire, their back turned to me. I wasn't afraid, oh no, not in the least. A perfectly reasonable explanation came to mind at once. A plausible thought flashed through my mind. One of my friends must have come by. The concierge, whom I'd informed upon leaving, had told him I'd be back soon and lent him the key. And all the details of my return, the bell cord pulled immediately, the door merely pushed shut, came back to me in a single instant. My friend, whose hair I had glimpsed, had fallen asleep by the fire, waiting for me. I stepped forward to wake him. I saw him clearly, one arm hanging to the right, legs crossed, head tilted slightly to the left, everything suggested sleep. I wondered, who is it? The room was dim. I reached out to touch his shoulder. And my hand met the wooden back of the chair. There was no one there. The armchair was empty. What a jolt, my God! I recoiled, as if some terrible threat had appeared before me. Then I spun around, sensing someone behind me. And at once, an irresistible urge to look again at the chair made me turn back. I stood there, gasping in terror, so shaken I could neither think nor move, ready to collapse. But I'm a man of composure, and reason quickly returned. I thought, it was a hallucination, that's all. And I immediately began to analyze the phenomenon. In moments like these, thoughts race. A hallucination, there was no doubt. Yet my mind had remained lucid throughout, functioning logically and coherently. So the brain was not disturbed. Only the eyes had erred, misleading the thought. The eyes had seen a vision, one of those visions that make naive people believe in miracles. It was a nervous malfunction of the optical system, nothing more, perhaps a slight vascular overload. I lit a candle. As I bent toward the hearth, I noticed I was trembling, and I straightened abruptly, as if someone had touched me from behind. No, I was not calm, certainly not. I paced the room, spoke aloud. Hummed a few tunes under my breath. Then I locked the door with 2 turns of the key and felt somewhat reassured. At least no one could enter. I sat down again and reflected for a long time on what had happened. Then I lay down and blew out the candle. For a few minutes, all was well. I lay on my back, fairly peacefully. Then I felt the need to look around the room, and I turned onto my side. Only 2 or 3 glowing embers remained in the fireplace, casting light on the legs of the armchair, and I thought I saw the man sitting there again. I struck a match quickly. I was mistaken, there was nothing. Still, I got up and pushed the chair behind the bed. I extinguished the light and tried to sleep. Not 5 minutes had passed when I dreamed the entire scene from the evening vividly, as if it were real. I woke in a panic, lit the room, and sat in bed, not daring even to try sleeping again. Twice, however, sleep overtook me for a few seconds. And twice I saw the same thing. I thought I was losing my mind. When morning came, I felt relieved and dozed peacefully until noon. It was over, truly over. A fever, a nightmare, who knows? An illness, in any case. But I felt utterly foolish. That day I was in high spirits. I dined at a tavern, went to the theatre, and then headed home. But the closer I got to my house, the more a strange unease gripped me. I was afraid of seeing him again. Not him, not his presence, which, by the way, I didn't believe in, but I feared another failure of vision, another hallucination, the terror that might seize me once more. For over an hour I wandered the sidewalk, back and forth. Then I decided I was being ridiculous and went in. I was breathing so heavily I couldn't climb the stairs. I stood for another 10 minutes on the landing before my door, then suddenly felt a surge of resolve, a cold clarity of will. I inserted the key, rushed forward, candle in hand, kicked open the half-closed bedroom door, and cast a frightened glance toward the fireplace. Nothing. Ah, what relief! What joy! What deliverance! I walked around the room cheerfully. But I wasn't truly at ease. I kept flinching, turning around, disturbed by the shadows in the corners. I slept poorly, waking constantly to imagined sounds. But I didn't see him. No. It was over. Since that day, I've been afraid to be alone at night. I feel it, this shadow near me, around me. It hasn't appeared again. Oh no. And what does it matter, since I don't believe in it, since I know it's nothing? But it still troubles me, because I think of it constantly. A hand hanging to the right, a head tilted to the left, like someone asleep. Enough, for God's sake. I don't want to think about it anymore. But what is this obsession? Why won't it let go? His feet were so close to the fire. He haunts me. It's madness, but it's real. Who is he? I know he doesn't exist, that he's nothing. He exists only in my fear, in my anxiety, in my anguish. Enough. Yes, I repeat rational arguments to myself. I try to pull myself together, but it's all in vain. I can no longer stay alone in my own home, because he is there. I know he won't appear again, I won't see him, that part is over. But he's still there in my mind. He remains invisible, but that doesn't stop him from being. He's behind the doors, inside the closed wardrobe, under the bed, in every dark corner, in every shadow. If I fling open the door, unlock the wardrobe, lower the light beneath the bed, if I illuminate the corners and the shadows, he's not there. But then I feel him behind me. I turn around, knowing full well I won't see him, that I'll never see him again. And yet, he's behind me. Still. It's absurd, but it's terrifying. What can I say? I can't help it. But if there were two of us in my house, yes, I feel it. I feel it with absolute certainty, he would be gone. Because he's here only because I'm alone. Only because I'm alone,